Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Everett Carnahan, and I will be presenting today and discussing IT service management and IT asset management and how they coexist and can improve your organization's productivity and help you manage your resources. I'm broadcasting from the beautiful Pacific Northwest, about 45 miles south of Seattle, and in a very picturesque little place called Gig Harbor, Washington. Lots of pleasure boats and a fishing fleet down here. Anyway, so enough about me. Let's jump into the presentation. I do have a few slides I'd like to go through fairly quickly, and then we will go in and discuss and have a short demo. And then after that, we'll have questions at the end. So I appreciate all of you being able to be here today, and if you do have questions, please enter them in the chat, and we will have a moderator who will then work through those questions at the end. So give me 1 second and let me begin the slides here. So another quick little background. I've been in the IT service management space since about 1996, and prior to that, I worked for a short period of time, for about a year, as an asset administrator, trying to track down all of the assets that the company I worked for had bought on behalf of the government. And it was a fairly large contract, and they weren't unable to locate those assets. And so we had to put together an entire asset system using basically spreadsheets. And what's fascinating is that even today I find that a lot of organizations are still using spreadsheets to manage, capture information and manage their assets. But as the complexity of the IT infrastructure, as organizations' IT infrastructures have increased, it's becoming much more difficult to manage assets within an organization by using spreadsheets, even using simple software solutions. Some of those just cannot scale, nor do they provide the feature functionality that are required to help organizations to support the everywhere workplace and support their digital transformation. In the olden days, we used to just be concerned about what is it, what do we have, and where is it. But now, today, it's basically increased in terms of what sort of information is needed to help to manage those. For example, how are devices performing? What is the history of those devices? What are those devices costing us? Is there a way to reduce those costs and to maximize our costs on those? And how can we help support the business in their new endeavors and their new marketing campaigns and other areas that they're working to increase the organization's efficiency, but also the productivity and income. And also what we're experiencing, what we're experiencing as well is a shift in the workforce that is really compounding these issues. Part of that shift has to do with the pandemic, which sent many of us home, actually most of us home, where we now are remote and are taking our devices with us and are seeking assistance and help for these devices from our remote centers. And that tends to complicate things for IT and their ability to support us. A recent survey was done, and what was found was that the CIOs, it was a CIO survey, and what was an interesting point that came out is that about 76%, which is a very large percentage of the CIOs, are concerned that this growing IT complexity is going to make it much more difficult in the future to help them manage their organization and also to help them with their digital transformation. Now, part of the challenge is that with these increasing devices and increasing platforms, capturing that information is critical. And it all starts with a discovery process, a discovery engine. And to perform that function, to be able to capture and understand what assets you have, it is imperative that some form of automation is used to capture that information. Without the automation, it has become too unwieldy to be able to understand and record everything that you have and to be able to manage those. So the first step is having a very strong discovery solution that can also provide critical information and provide the ability to normalize that information, to reconcile that information, and also to deduplicate. Many solutions on the market have the ability to bring in data from multiple sources, just like the Ivanti solution does. But what happens is oftentimes you get duplicate information from these different sources, and so it's very critical and important to be able to deduplicate your asset repositories as part of this process. Part of the challenges in the modern IT infrastructure and with assets is that asset management is that the data, it must be trustworthy. If it is not trustworthy, if it's not clean and sanitized and trustworthy, then people will lose their faith in the system and will not use it, and therefore you've spent time, money, and energy on this asset repository that's not being used because people don't trust it. So it's imperative that this information be captured, be cleaned, sanitized, and made available to your asset infrastructure database repositories and also to your IT service management organization so that they'll have a trustworthy database, information to help them perform their jobs. Change managers are able to perform their changes properly. Incident and problem individuals are able to help to resolve calls more quickly, which in turn helps in reducing costs and being able to also absorb more calls and to do more with less. The Ivanti Service Manager, the automation and its workflows that are built into the IT Service Management solution will help to improve your operational speed, help reduce and it does this by reducing time spent on routine tasks. You spend less time waiting for manual activities. The processes can be repeatable and more consistent. And it gives you better ability to increase efficiencies and to reduce costs, provide large benefits to organizations and to help IT organizations to be able to manage and help the business grow. So let's now jump into the demo. So give me a quick second to switch gears here. So what you're looking at here is the Ivanti self-service portal. What I'd like to start with I'm going to run through a couple of use cases, a couple scenarios. The first off is the use case of your organization, your end users, your employees ordering a piece of equipment and doing that through the self-service portal. So the goal is to be able to show you and highlight how your asset repository plays a key role in the life of end users, agents, and management. So the first thing we want to run through is the self-service portal aspect. And we're going to go pretty quickly through here since this is a short 30-minute presentation. We're going to breeze through some of these use cases. So the first one is how does an asset help to empower your end users to be able to request items? So this is the self-service portal, the current Ivanti's iteration of the self-service portal, and there is a service catalog. Within the service catalog are many different types of service requests, and we can sort the service catalog and select, for example, the most popular. If I, as an end user, need to request a device, I can do that right here and select this catalog item of computer request from the product catalog. And when I select the catalog item, it will display, well, first off, it enters into the asset repository, and it shows me all the devices that are authorized for me to pick. So this is a first view for your end users into the asset repository. And so this information comes from the product catalog. The product catalog has reorder levels and reorder volumes, and it also has a great deal of information about your sources, who supports them, and who your vendors are. But this is the first step, is to come in and be able to order that. Give that a quick order and then send that on its way. And now within here, I can go in and view those orders. As you can see, I've been practicing, got a few orders here, but we can see now that it's been submitted and your end users can track this request throughout the process. But the items that appear in the catalog, under the catalog items here, the different devices, these are the authorized, allowed devices from which individuals can pick. And you can set the solution up to display other information. It does also track and pull the cost information way over here on the far right. You'll see cost information is pulled from here as well. And let's switch gears real quick and go over to the agent interface. So what we've done now is I've changed gears, and I'm now looking at the service desk manager's space. Let's change it actually to a service desk agent. So this is a manager's view. It's a dashboard. And from within here, we want to show how the agent now will fulfill that request. So what we want to do is I can look through here and find all the new requests, but I'm going to do a little what we call the Julia Child method and pick one that has gone through a couple of the steps so you don't have to watch and wait for those steps to complete. Here's my Julia Child ticket. So this particular ticket is the same individual, but it's already gone through the approval process, and it has gone and it started the tasking process. So part of the benefit of having your service management and your asset management integrated is that your asset management process, your asset management and your devices can be supported by automated processes such as approval processes, automated tasking, and this can make redundant processes much more efficient. So for example, we have a workflow that is built here for a asset order. And if anyone wants to see that, any analyst wants to see that workflow at any time, they just simply need to select workflow. And there are multiple workflows that are associated with this. One is started. We can show that instance. And as an analyst, I can see where this has gone in the process. And there is a workflow design engine where analysts can come in here, or workflow process analysts can come in and create these workflows. It's a drag and drop, so no coding necessary. And if you wish to see the details, you just simply click and you can drill into the details on, for example, who needs to approve this, what the process is. But we're in a non-modify state right here. We want to go back to that ticket. So the workflow is highly beneficial for taking redundant tasks and streamlining those. And with the addition of the asset management, it can really help to make that much more powerful. So what I want to do as an analyst now is fulfill this request. So my first task here is to go and find a device. And so what I can do, I can approach that a couple ways. From within the service request, I can select my CIs. I can go in and search for a CI. And then I've got a default search. Since I do a lot of ordering or a lot of looking through stock, I have that as my default. But I can also, so this is a request for a MacBook. I'm looking for MacBooks all the time, so I can select create a predefined search and have that available to help me to manage this more quickly. Or if necessary, I can come in here if it's something really unique. I can come in here and say, show me models of that have within it, so MacBook, and I can create an additional part of this search. I'm going to add an and the status is equal to, and we'll say in stock. So very easy to come in here and find that, and we'll do our search. Now this individual is in Chicago, so what I want to do is look for something in Chicago. So I've got in stock right here, this guy right here, so I'm going to select that, and now that device is linked to this service request, and once this task is complete, it will then move to the next task in the process. Also, if I wish to go in and get details on this and look at this a little more thoroughly, I can come over here and do a quick jump right over into the repository. In this case, since we're in the service request mode, we are looking in the CMDB at configuration items. And so now I can see this configuration item. I can see where it's located. I can find some specifics about it, and then also other things as well. So that is the simplicity of how asset management can support your order processing or your service request process of supplying new equipment to your users. The same thing applies and is often used for employee provisioning. So if you have a new employee coming on board, the solution has an onboard process that has the capability as well is to order and allocate devices and items to individuals. So that is available and a very powerful option within the solution. Let's go look at our next use case. And what I'd like to do is point out the differences between and how the role-based aspect of the Ivanti service management and asset management and CMDB configuration management solution, how it interacts. So the Ivanti solution is a very role-based product, And if we choose, for example, to be an asset administrator, this is where you choose your role. And so I've got permissions to multiple roles. And what this allows you to do is to present to these particular users the data they need to do their job, and then not clutter their workspace with things that they typically don't need. So I've changed it to an asset administrator and with an asset dashboard, which shows me things that are typically what I deal with, which is I need to know the status, what types of assets I have, how they're distributed across the globe, particular financial information, and then also some assets that have not shown up in the scan in quite a while. So these are things that I may need to go do some research and find. Dashboards are completely configurable within here. But the one thing I do want to point out is that as an asset manager, I'm concerned with full lifecycle management from procurement. For example, we have purchase orders, purchase ordering capabilities within here. Let's go look at a little further here. The solution provides purchase ordering through stock management, so acquiring those purchases and putting them in stock and managing stock throughout your organization, whether they be geographic in a particular part of the country or worldwide. Also, there's invoice management. There's, of course, your repository of assets where you can go through and filter through and look at particular assets. There's also the product catalog, which I mentioned earlier when we were looking at this self-service portal. Let's go down to those MacBook Pros and take a look at that. And so here is our MacBook Pro. You can pin these items. So if you ever want to look at specific items at another time, you can. When we look at, for example, this device in the asset management view, you'll see it deals with information around networking, installed software, contracts, vendor information, scorecards that rate your vendors, financial information, any particular work orders, relationships. Relationships are your interrelationships, which can be seen in several different ways. Also, there is the ability to jump back or go and view the federated information on this, meaning the source information. So this is an embedded link to be able to go back to, in our case, the Ivanti Neurons discovery solution. And so we've federated this data back. And if we're trying to troubleshoot and we need additional information, we have that here available to us by jumping right back to the discovery solution and its intricate details on this device. So back on the device here, we'll now switch back on the IT service management here. Looking at the asset administrator, we'll now switch real quick. Oh, excuse me, I did forget one thing I wanted to talk about. We do also have many other aspects to the solution. We've got a disposal process built within the solution to help support those, contracts management, and then also, like I mentioned, vendor rating mechanism. So let's go over here and switch now to the configuration manager role. And configuration management is more concerned about how this device is being serviced and what is the current configuration of that device. And what we can do is go to our watch list again and look at that device. And so when we look at our available views into the configuration manager's world, you'll see we can view the hardware changes, software changes, configuration items. So the vocabulary has been completely switched from an asset management focused vocabulary to a configuration management. And when you look at the device, we see now the inclusion of incidents, problems, changes, releases. We see change lockout times. We see change availability times. We see installed software, again, relationships. We've got that relationship data. We've got network information. And then with the optional Ivanti's discovery and service mapping solution, we have the ability to look at the service map of this device and get a broader view. We'll talk about this a little more in depth when we get to change management, because this is highly beneficial for change management, but also troubleshooting. All right. So as you can see, the whole focus has changed based upon the role. And so that everyone, like I mentioned, can view their workspace and not be concerned or bothered with things that may not be applicable to them in their day-to-day life. And so the role-based aspect of the solution is a very powerful aspect, and very powerful in its ability to help your organization. All right, so let's go on to our last use case, and that is, how is this used? So we looked at how it's used for order fulfillment. Let's take a view and see how this is now used for other aspects of IT service management, how the asset repository, the CMDB, supports other aspects of IT service management. So let's start with problem management. So we looked at service management, and we saw how we can have assets linked to devices, and how we can link and find those. The same thing applies to service, to problem management. Let's start with problem management. So what we're looking at is a problem ticket, a problem investigation, and then from here, how asset management can help, or how the CMDB can help, is we have the ability to link those assets either from here, or from here we can go in and search and link those. But also, this is an error there's an issue with the CRM solution. Now, I don't know where to begin to look, so what I can do is I can go in and I want to go look at the CMDB, the CRM system. So what I will do is I'll go and I'll search and look for enterprise. So I can come down here and look for our enterprise applications, and we can find that right down here. We can also have a search pre-built. There we go, enterprise applications. And then we can look for our CRM solution. Once we have our CRM solution, we can go look at various aspects of it. Now, what I would want to do is I'd want to go look at that service map, and I can see the various devices that make up the application. I see from the service map that there is an issue with this particular device here. Now, I can drill into this device, and I have information at my fingertips to be able to help me to troubleshoot this. I've got events, so I can look at events and try to correlate the latest events with the recent problem management submission. Also, I can look at any changes to see what were the last changes accomplished. Oftentimes, changes are outages are the result of poorly implemented changes. I can look at patch information. So if you come to the far right here, we have the ability to add the patch data, so we can look at what patches have been applied. And if we find the problem from here, from using this, we can link this this device to our problem investigation by selecting problem, link, and then we can link right to it right there. And now we've created that two-way relationship between the device and this particular problem. We'll give it a quick refresh and make sure I saved that. And then go back over here, give it another refresh, and there it is. Now it's linked. And with this information, now what we've done is we've created a two-way relationship, and now we have a history. We've established a history between this problem and this particular device. So in the future, if we need to do reporting, do analysis, well, we can do that with this established relationship. We can determine how many problems may have been linked to this asset. Is this asset an error-prone device? Is it something we need to renegotiate? Do we need to manage our contract differently? Also from here, if we determine, for example, that this is going to require a change, we just simply need to go in on the change here, select new change, fill in any pertinent information. It pulls over a great deal of it. And then we're going to say incident problem resolution. We'll save that. And now we can go and see our change and go to that change and see that our configuration management, now that we're here on our change, we can now see that the configuration item has been linked to this. And now we've got a full audit trail from, could possibly have started from an incident, but we've got our problem now linked to our change, and our change and problem both linked to the device. We can go over and look at that device, and we can now see, as an asset manager or a configuration manager, we can go now and see all the problems that have been associated with this device and any of the changes that have occurred. All right, so let me stop there, and I believe time has been flying. So let's stop the demo, and that concludes the 3 use cases that I was going to go through. And so hopefully with this, you've been able to see how the devices and the asset information seem to be information can support your IT service management, and how IT service management can make great use of these devices in your trustworthy databases to be able to help them to perform their work and to utilize those CIs to successfully complete and resolve incidents and problems and support the change process. All right, so let me put this away and go back to and address any questions that may have come through. Okay, questions. Let me look at what we've got here. All right, just a couple questions. Does Ivanti support a multi-tenancy environment? We are an IT solution and managed service provider and interested to use. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. It does require a little extra configuration, but it can do that. It can support a multi-tenant environment. Is there a way to limit the assets that are available for the end user to request if there is nothing in stock for that catalog item? I believe so. I would have to check with an architect to see what would be necessary to put in it probably just requires a filter that says if no device is available or if count equals 0, then it won't display those. But I would need to talk to an architect to see what it would take to do that. We have great solution architects that are wizards at figuring out issues like that. The out-of-box workflow checks if the product is in stock after the request is submitted. Correct. I didn't drill into that workflow very far. I didn't drill into that workflow that was showed earlier as in depth as I would like to if I had more time. One of the steps is it does check to see if there are devices, and if there are devices available, it starts the tasking process. If there are no devices available, it notifies the purchase request manager to then order devices. So that is available within the solution. And I just have those couple of questions, and my timer is going off to let me know that I've run out of time. But if there are any other questions, we'll take another minute, just one more minute, and let me know here if you've got any. If there are no other questions, we will conclude our presentation today. So thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you and in the future and attending any additional presentations. Just one quick note: Ivanti, on our webpage under resources, there is a spot of demo videos. So if you wish to go watch additional videos that discuss and display and demo the products, you're more than welcome to go there and check those out. They're great videos. So I appreciate your time, and I wish to thank you for being here and attending. And so I appreciate that. So thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next presentation. Bye now.